So anyway, that's impact, and that one we don't need our fancy app to analyze, but essentially we are looking for noisy runners if you are making a lot of noise as you land, and there's no way to quantify it that I'm aware of. So I have tried using, I think they call it like a decimelometer or something like that, and putting it near the treadmill to see how much noise. It just kind of didn't work. So I have no way of quantifying how much is too noisy and how much is too quiet. It's obviously going to be easier for me because I look at hundreds of runners, so I can just kind of imagine a bell curve of how noisy is too noisy. It's going to be much harder for you, but if you feel like you're very noisy, then it might be worth considering. And I would say look for very noisy. Like if you're landing and you feel like you're being very loud, then it might be worth changing. And if you feel like, maybe it's a little bit loud, maybe just leave it alone. So technique error number 1 was overstriding, and we're going to look at the shin angle to identify that. Technique error number 2 is high impact, and we're going to analyze how noisy we're being as we land to look at that one. Technique error number 3 is low cadence. For that one, what we want to do is take our 10-second clip. So you can trim the clip if you want. You can do that in Huddle app. I'm sure you can do it in Coach's Eye. You can even do it on the phone with the camera. You know, you just click on photos and then you click on edit, and then you just drag the two ends to make the clip 10 seconds long. Sorry, that's hard to explain, but if you're wondering, just type into Google, how do I trim my video on my whatever phone you have, and you'll be able to do it. And if you make it 10 seconds long, then all you have to do is count the steps. It's really easy. So if you, oh man, I'm not going to do the maths in my head right now, because I don't normally do it this way myself. I normally just actually match the beat on a metronome to someone's running strides. I have done it in this 10-second method before. It works just fine, and it's easier if you're doing a DIY, right? If you're doing it yourself, it's easier to do this 10-second method than to try and line a metronome up with your steps as you're running. That's quite tricky. So, but anyway, you get your amount of steps you take in 10 seconds, and then you multiply it by 6 to get how many steps you would take in a minute, okay? And then we want that number to be somewhere between about 170 and 190 at most speeds. So if you're taking less than 100, it's usually lower cadence is the problem, not high. If you're taking less than 160 steps each minute, if you're taking less than 170 steps each minute, then your cadence is a little bit low, and it may be worth increasing. The reason it may be worth increasing is if you've got low cadence, you've probably got an overstride, and vice versa. If you've got low cadence, you've probably got high impact, and vice versa. So these top three running technique errors that I sort of look for in the screen are all kind of connected. And cadence, or steps per minute, sorry, that's what cadence means. I'm sorry, I didn't explain that. The amount of steps you take each minute, or your cadence, is a good way to try and address those issues. We'll talk a little bit in the next video about how to do that. I don't want to get into it too much and make this too complicated, but if it's below 170, you might be considering trying to increase your cadence in order to reduce overstride and reduce impact. And you're going to be doing it somewhere in the order of 5 to 10%. So we don't want to do it too much. And we're not going to bring it all in at once. We're going to do it slowly. But that's how I would suggest looking at it. That's getting a little bit into what to do about it. I wanted to stick to today about just how to analyze. So we've got our 3 things. And you know, I just remembered the video from behind is actually not necessary for these 3. I just realized that as I was talking, because I always do the video from behind as well, but I'm looking for other things from behind. But the top 3 things you can do with a simple 10-second video from the side, just in the way we just described. So you're going to download the app, either Coach's Eye or Huddle Technique. You're going to set up your shoe, your running shoe, at about waist height if you can, holding your phone pointing at you from the side. You're going to take a 10-second clip of you running at the pace you want to analyze, And the first thing you're going to do is freeze frame at loading response. So not when the shoe touches the ground, but when the shoe starts to deform a little bit. At that point, we want the shin to be vertical. If the shin is vertical or inclined forwards, we're happy. If it's inclined backwards, we think we're overstriding a bit. As you're running, you're going to be paying attention to your impact, and you're just going to classify yourself as noisy or not noisy, I guess. And noisy means potentially you've got high impact, which means high vertical loading rate, which means you might potentially want to do something about that. And then the last thing is cadence. So once you get off the treadmill, you're going to count the amount of steps you took in that 10-second clip. You're going to multiply it by 6 to get your steps per minute, and that's your cadence. If it's less than 170, then you might want to increase it. So overstride, we look for vertical shin. Impact, we look at how much noise you're making. Cadence, we take your steps per minute, and we want it above 170. And that's the how to do a running technique screen. So in the next episode, I'll talk a little bit more about how to correct it, and I'll probably go through as well like what to look for when you're looking from behind. So that was the video we took, looking from behind. What else to look for? That's more technical than what we just talked about, but I think it'll be interesting. Like I said, if you want to read that ebook that I wrote, The Top 20 Running Technique Errors, just go to my website, matthewboydphysio.com, MATTHEWBOYDPHYSIO.com. There'll be one of those annoying pop-ups saying, do you want this video? You'll need to turn off your ad blocker if you want to see it, and then you just enter your email and your name, and you'll get that ebook. And that's all I wanted to talk about today. So I hope you're enjoying these episodes, and like I say, if you have any questions, I'd love to hear them and tackle them in future episodes. So please send me an email. You can go to the contact form on that website I just sent. There's a contact button at the top. You can leave a comment wherever you see this video or hear this audio, or you can send me an email, mboydphysio@gmail.com, mboydphysio@gmail.com. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you next time.